Hi, I'm Zoe from Zoe Bakes and welcome to my kitchen. Today I am making blueberry muffins. They are probably the most popular recipe on my website, or top 3 at least. And everybody needs to have a great blueberry muffin. This is the one. It's a tender muffin chock full of blueberries. So many blueberries, because if you don't have that many blueberries, what's the point? And then I add a crunchy topping to it. And I love that combination of the tender muffin, crunchy topping. It's dynamite. So let's get started. Super easy recipe. The first thing that you want to do is get your pan all ready to go. I'm using these adorable tulip liners. I love them. They just sort of dress up a very simple blueberry muffin. Looks more festive. So you could serve it at like a brunch or whatever, a party. Just gives it a little fancy. We're gonna start making the topping, because the topping has to go into the refrigerator. The butter gets nice and hard so that when it goes into the oven, it doesn't just melt everywhere, it stays crunchy. All you need for the topping is all-purpose flour, brown sugar, spices, and butter. They go together in a bowl. I just use my hands to mix it. You can, of course, use your machine, but it's such a little amount and it goes together so fast. Why dirty up another bowl? This is a nutmeg grinder, or grater rather, and if you have one, it just makes the nutmeg that much more intense. Whenever you can grate or grind a spice fresh, you're gonna have a more intense flavor. So I love nutmeg, so I'm gonna put a bit in there. The recipe is linked below, so I'm not gonna make you guess how much of all this stuff goes in. And then some cinnamon, and again, the exact amount is in the recipe below, but I'm putting just a fair amount. Okay, into the bowl it goes, and then some room temperature butter into the bowl. Room temperature so that it's easy to mix in. You could chop up cold butter, but then it just makes it harder to work with. And room temperature butter just blends super easy, so it's faster. Make sure it stays in the bowl. And then I'm just sort of pinching it all together until it comes together in a crumble. Okay. That's it. It's all together. So the crumb topping is uniformly mixed, but it's not in a ball. I want to keep it crumbly like this, hence the name. And so I can sprinkle this over the top of my muffins. Now I need to just pop this into the refrigerator so that the butter will solidify and it will keep its shape when we're baking it. So I'll put that in the fridge. Our crumb topping is in the refrigerator chilling, and now we need to mix up the muffin batter. I'm just going to cream together my butter and sugar and a little bit of brown sugar, because I love that little hit of molasses that it adds. Into the bowl it goes. We're just gonna blend that together on like medium speed and just cream it all together. Once the butter and sugar starts to come together, you just want to scrape down the bowl, make sure it's all in there, and the beater attachment. You'll notice that I am using a rubber-edged beater attachment. I will link to them below. I love this because then I don't have to scrape the bowl quite as much, but you still have to scrape. Now I'm gonna add my vanilla extract, my homemade vanilla extract. You can watch my video on how to make that. A nice healthy glug of that. and then my lemon zest. And I like to add it to the fat because the fat carries the flavor, so it just intensifies all of the flavors that you're gonna add to it. So in goes my lemon. I like quite a bit because I think lemon and blueberries go so beautifully together and it brightens the whole thing up, but you do you and add as much as you want. Again, I have a suggestion in the recipe below. Mix that in. Give it a scrape. And now it's time to put in our eggs. I have 1 egg and 1 yolk, and I will try to put them in one at a time. Goes in. There we go. Scrape down the bowl. The important thing with the eggs is to make sure that they're at room temperature because then they blend more easily into the butter sugar mixture. If they're cold, they'll seize up the butter and you don't want that. So make sure that your eggs are at room temperature. My yolk. One more scrape. Okay, now it's time to get the flour and all of the dry ingredients into the bowl and the buttermilk. Before I do that, I want to whisk together my flour, my baking soda, baking powder, and salt, just to make sure that they distribute really well in the recipe. Helps for flavor and for rise. And now I'm gonna add half of the dry ingredients to the bowl and stir that on a low speed. This is the problem with, that's awesome. This is the problem with having your machine backwards. I thought I was securing the bowl and I was turning on the mixer. So that's why you want to turn it on to low speed so that it doesn't fly everywhere. That is such a rookie mistake, but we all still make it. Okay, so low speed, hopefully there's still some flour in the bowl. Ah, that's better. That's hilarious. Look at it, it's everywhere. Okay. Just until it comes together, like just until it comes together. Then half of my buttermilk into the bowl. Just stir it on low speed until it just is coming together. It doesn't have to be totally uniform. Okay, and then the rest of my flour, this time I'm gonna put it on slow. That's amazing. Okay. My poodle just walked in to see what all the commotion was. Just gently stirring it. I'm gonna give it a little scrape and then add the rest of my buttermilk. And then it's time for the, oh, there he is. Then it's time for the main event, the blueberries. You'll notice that they aren't on the counter. I've kept them in the freezer. I'm using frozen blueberries. I've kept them in the freezer until the very last second so that they don't melt before I put them in the bowl. Okay. The rest of my buttermilk, low speed. Just stirring it just until it's about to come together. And that's it. You don't want to overmix your muffin batter, otherwise you're gonna end up with tougher muffins. That's it. Let's get rid of the machine before I make a total mess. Okay, I have my frozen blueberries, I have my chilled topping, and now we're ready to finish up. Before I add the frozen blueberries to my muffin batter, I'm going to add just a little bit, about a teaspoon of flour to the berries so that the berries don't just fall to the bottom of the muffin and then you have, you know, most of the muffin without berries. You want the berries to be throughout the whole thing. So by adding just a touch of flour, about a teaspoon, and stirring that into your frozen blueberries, just get my hands in there. You can hear that they're frozen solid. Super important because I don't want to add berries that are all melty and juicy into my muffin batter and have it turn gray. Once I add the berries to the muffin batter, I'm only going to stir it a few times so that it doesn't start to melt. Here we go. Just dump them in and give them a few good folds so that you're distributing the berries, but you're trying not to work it too much that you start to melt the blueberries into the muffin batter. I'm gonna grab a portion scoop and my prepared pan, and I'm gonna scoop the muffin batter into the pan. And then the final step is to add our crunch. So just distribute that over each of the muffins, keeping it in the bits so it's not too uniform. Some of it will bake into the muffin batter and some will stay crunchy on the top. Okay, we are ready for the oven. I'm gonna put these into my preheated oven. I have the muffin pan doubled up so that the bottoms of my muffins don't overbake. If you don't have two muffin pans, just put it on a baking sheet. So they're out of the oven. They smell incredible. The blueberries, the lemon, the bit of spice that went into the topping, all of it combined together just is filling up the house and it's intoxicating. Okay, so oh, look at that. Yes. So good. So many blueberries. So great. Wow. Oh, that smell is just incredible. A cup of tea, some hot blueberry muffin. There's just about nothing better. These are so good. I hope you'll bake them. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like the video and share it with all of your friends. And please leave a comment and let me know what else you'd like to bake together. So I hope you'll come back and we'll bake some more.